Good morning. My name is Crystalline Bell, and I am doing a check-in of my 40-day fast. So we're at day 30, and things are going incredibly well, and also a lot has changed. So I am doing a fast from things that have been a crutch for me. Like they're my escape mechanisms, right? So I, in the past, have been a compulsive eater, a compulsive spender. I've even been a compulsive gambler. I have been a binge watcher of television, particularly Netflix and all the great shows that they have. So, what I've noticed over the last years is that I've had a decline in my general good health and in my self-care, my regular daily self-care. Things have gone down. And I've also noticed that my attitude over the years has become disempowered. So self-awareness, just kind of walking the path of self-awareness this year with the coronavirus. I contracted the coronavirus earlier in the year. It was between January and February, like the end of January, something was weird. And at the beginning of February, I'm convinced that I was knee deep in the coronavirus. I had an incredible cold. It was so not a cold. It was so strange. And it was about a week of strangeness, but with 2 days of terror. I literally thought I was going to die. And it started, and it started a series of events, and that led to this 40-day fast. What happened was, when I had the coronavirus, there were 2 days where I couldn't breathe, my heart was not functioning, and there was this weird gasping for breath. And it was not a subtle thing at all. Like, it was totally something to make me pause. It wasn't in the background. It was severe enough for me to have almost passed out, like to the point of my lungs are not functioning. I am about to pass out. I don't know how to get my lungs to function, right? So I'd find myself literally swooning, holding on to things to keep me upright, and thinking, okay, how do I call 911, right? Like, let me get my phone because something's going wrong. So that put the fear of God in me. And what it did after the 2 days, because after the 2 days, I kind of went back to normal. Like, all of a sudden, I'm like, wait, did that just happen? There were still some symptoms. I was exhausted, these kinds of things. But I'm like, what happened with my breath, my lungs, and my heart? So then the word about the coronavirus spreading to Italy and how devastated the country was by, the numbers, that came to my awareness. And I'm like, wow, this is what's going on with me. And it started making me really fearful about death. And so I started looking around at my life to see, well, why am I so afraid of death? If I'm a spiritual being, why do I feel all of a sudden terrified of dying? And what I realized was that I have way too many loose ends and unfinished business, so that if I died, everybody would be responsible for my shit. And that was scarier than dying. For me, people having to come in and take care of my dog, to take care of my room, it's already enough that, like, you're going to have to come in and take care of my body, right? You're going to have to come and deal with my innards as they release, in death. That's already enough to be very humbling for me, okay? But, that I have a storage unit in Italy that, has a bunch of furniture in it. I don't have arrangements for that in case something goes wrong for me. And the poor guy who's storing my stuff would be responsible for that. And yes, I know people would figure that out. I know y'all would figure it out. However, I'm not okay with you having to figure out my shit. I'm a grown ass woman. I should have my shit figured out myself. This is huge for me. Responsibility is huge for me, and it's a part of my soul's calling. And this is why I am so appreciative of the coronavirus, this global pandemic, and this lockdown, which is forcing me to confront the lack of responsibility I've not been taking over these years. As I said earlier in this video, the last few years have been about me not taking responsibility for my self-care. Now, when I say self-care, I don't mean manicures, pedicures, hair, and don't mean, like superficial stuff. I don't mean a body scrub, you know. Those things are important, don't get me wrong. But when I'm talking about self-care, what I'm talking about is care for my higher self. Care for the aspect of my being that is truly connected to God. What I've done is become human over these last years. My mental state has deteriorated to the point where I have become human. And instead of using my connection with God to flourish my life, I have become someone who's reacting to the three-dimensional world and reacted, not someone who's been in herself and commanded the three-dimensional world. Now, I know that I've achieved a lot over these last few years, and that's the problem. It's in my achieving a lot that I started becoming more interested in my achievements than in my source of achievements, which is my God self, my light, the truth of who I am, my divine self, my soul, not my personality self, right? So this coronavirus has given me what feels like a near-death experience. There was a night during one of those 2 days I told you about. One night, I was lying down and there was no breath coming in. And it was as if my lungs had been dipped in an iron. And in order for me to get the breath in, I would have to expand, and there was no expansion because my lungs were in an iron cage. And I remember waking up, this is 2 o'clock in the morning, turning on the light, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm literally dying right now. Oh my God, I'm not going to breathe. I'm about to suffocate. And it was terrifying. It was terrifying. You know, they say your life flashes before your eyes. My life didn't flash before my eyes, but what flashed before my eyes was the reality of I'm sitting down here in this bed and I can't breathe. That was like just made really real. And I'm like, this is how people die. And I'm like, oh shit, getting ready to meet my maker. And I remember looking over at my dog thinking, I'm sorry, buddy, but I'm about to leave you. God's going to figure you out. I will come from beyond the grave and I will be looking out for you. I will be your angel. That's so it took this near death experience, okay, for me to realize this thing that I've just explained. Like, I don't care for myself. I've been responding to the three-dimensional world. I've been responding to um, my personality, and I've been ignoring my light. So with that near-death experience, and this is why we love near-death experiences. Oh, this is why we love near-death experiences, because after them, you wake up. You're like, I am alive. Oh my God, by the grace of God, I am alive. And it makes you totally reevaluate your entire being, and it makes you stand up and take responsibility for your shit. And all the stuff that you were whining and complaining about that you couldn't get done, all of a sudden, you getting stuff done. Like, I didn't know I had it in me. I didn't know I could run a marathon. I didn't know I could do this. I didn't know I could do that. It's like, yeah, near-death experience, wake up, okay? So what I did was to start looking at the fears that I had in my life. And the number one fear was the fear of death and leaving my stuff, my students, okay, not just my dog, my students, my friends, my family, letting them all know that, you know, what to do with me, what to do for me, where my stuff is, you know, letting people know how to take care of Apollo. Here's the plan for Apollo, making a plan for Apollo, you know, making a plan for my students, all this kind of stuff, right? So I had to take responsibility for that and do something about it. So then, after I did all those things, you know, like, hey, in case I die, I need this, that, and that to happen. Then what I did was to say, all right, here I am. Now, what do I need? Because life is worth fighting for. And if I'm being called home by my soul, I need to know, I have to be in agreement with that. I don't want to be living my life having messages from the divine of, hey, you're about to die, and me being in resistance, hiding, and going, no, that's not how I live my life. When the divine calls me to something, I go toward that thing, which is why after the near-death experience, I'm like, look, I've got to confront every fear. So what I found was that there were a lot of things that were inside of me that were going unaddressed, a lot of old wounding, like, and some really important old things. I'm talking molestation, rape, things like this that were going unaddressed. On one level, I thought they were being addressed because I had developed a coping mechanism that allowed me to function. But that coping mechanism, as with all coping mechanisms, don't necessarily make you thrive, right? So I was surviving and barely surviving emotionally in my being. So what this thing has called me to do was to stand up and take responsibility for myself, my higher self. So what I have started to do over these last 40 days, and this is what, well, the last 30 days, this is what the hashtag 2020 coronavirus 40, no, quarantine 40, sorry. It's hashtag 2020 quarantine 40, 40 days of quarantine, so that I can peel back the layers of my personality so that I can reveal the higher self within. This is the same thing that Catholics be doing at Lent. Um, I'm not sure if Ramadan is based on the same thing. I know that they fast during the day, but they eat at night. I don't know if that's 40 days. I don't know about that. But Lent, the Catholics do it. Jesus in the desert was like, look, I got to go get clear. I'm going to go in the desert. I ain't eating. I ain't drinking. I'm just going to have me silence. And of course, he was tempted by the devil over those 40 days in the desert. Well, this 40-day thing is really big because, number one, it's kind of long, right? 40 days without something is a long time, but it's a great amount of time because it gives you so much time and space to contemplate what in the world is going on while you are without the thing that you are being without. So I am without television. I am without binge eating. I am without sugar. I am without meat. Those are the things that I've given up. So, and let me tell you, it is a struggle every single day because I love television. I love meat. I love sugar. I love butter. Okay. So, and I'm not giving up the butter, by the way. It's dairy. I'm doing dairy so I can have cottage cheese and eggs. And because my nails and my hair grow like crazy when I have dairy. When I take them away, those things are the very first things that go. I've tried being without dairy. My nails get really thin and they peel, they break, they tear. My hair breaks. So I'm going to keep dairy in my life. I try to do organic dairy, and I love cheese. And I love yogurt. God bless the cow, man. Organic dairy, and God bless chickens. Byproducts, meat, byproducts, chickens. When I have my farmhouse in Italy, I guarantee you there will be chickens there. They will be happy. They will be free range. And I will have me some fresh eggs as often as I want. Very excited about that. So those are the things I've been without, right? Without the meat, without the sugar, without the television. And what it was very hard at first. There were days that I cried, like, because when you can't like sit and binge watch Netflix, I had to be with myself. And the other thing that I have to do is actually listen to my emotions and my feelings as they are arising. And so this is what I've been doing. There were a lot of tears. There were some really, really hard days. Like I had to have a conversation with my molester. And that was the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my entire life. It was totally, my higher self was like, yes, done, boom. But my personality self was mad as hell, totally dissatisfied. So I'm still working around those things. We'll talk about that another time. Oh shit, I've got to go. 7 o'clock. I got an appointment. All right. So look, all of this is to say that things are going very well. Thank you for watching. I will do another check-in. This is day 30 of my 40-day fast. Boom, it is on. All right. I totally recommend you do a 40-day fast for something. Okay. Signing off. Bye for now.